Prick up your earballs. It's the Powell Movement.
Welcome to the Powell Movement. I'm your host, Mike Powell, and it's finally time for the Olympics. And with the Olympic Games come more in-depth athlete interviews with folks who should be on the podium in South Korea. My guest this week is an athlete that I signed during my days as a team manager. Her name is Brita Sigourney, and Brita's career has been defined by injury and success. She's had 7 surgeries in the past 8 years or so, and has always come back to stand on the podium. Brita's going to take us through the highs and lows, the medals and the hardware she received during her career. Before we get into the podcast, I want to ask you to follow me on Instagram at The Powell Movement, share my posts on social media, and reach out to me with any feedback or concerns. My email is mike@thepowellmovement.com. Finally, I need to thank my sponsors. They are Evo, Rescue Water, the 10 Barrel Brewery, the Summit at Snoqualmie, and Unofficial Networks. Please support them and save some money by using the codes in the ads. Now, it's time to talk to Brita Sigourney.
Hi, Mike.
Good morning, Brita. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am wonderful, thank you. It is like 8 in the morning here, so I'm just waking up.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Okay, you and me both. We'll drink our coffees together.
I don't drink coffee. I just live in the place.
You don't?
No, I just have too much energy as it is regularly. I'm so ADD.
You're one of those people.
Yeah, I drink a lot of soda.
That's probably just as caffeinated, though.
It is. You know, what's crazy here is we have a sugar tax now in Seattle on soda.
Oh my God.
So I bought a 2-liter yesterday. I bought sugar-free because of the sugar tax. Sugar-free 2-liter was 89 cents. The regular sugar version was like $2.49.
What?
Yeah, it's stupid. It's like they're trying to get us to stop drinking soda, which is frustrating to me.
That's insane. I haven't heard about that.
It's new as of 2018.
Just because sugar's so bad?
I guess so. I think it's just because kids are fat.
Oh.
And probably all the health problems that sugar causes. I don't know.
Yeah, that's funny.
You can drink as much coffee as you like and you don't get taxed extra, which is good for you.
Yeah, I would hope up there's not taxing coffee.
Well, we could fix all of our roads and all of our infrastructure between coffee and weed. We would be really, really good.
That's true. Maybe you should suggest that.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to listen to me at all. They're going to make a lot of money off me off the sugar tax, but that's okay.
They're going to go for you and the kids.
So what's going on in your world? You're having like the biggest year of your life or the biggest year in a long time.
Yeah, it's been definitely feels like a little bit of a comeback year, which is funny because I'm not really coming back from anything, but I just seem to have kind of found my place again and have been picking up a lot of momentum in the last few weeks. And yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling good right now.
Well, you couldn't have picked a better time to start being as confident as you can and doing well in every contest because you've got the Olympics right around the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to be psyched. I mean, if you're going to put it all together, the Olympic year is the year to do it. And for you, like you said, you're not coming back from anything. Your career, and we'll talk about it, has been defined by injury, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You've been doing okay for the past, couple years?
Yeah, I've been relatively injury-free since 2014. I got injured right before the last Olympics, but that was my last, surgery.
You were able to compete, though.
Yeah. I got injured in October. It was a pretty quick recovery.
Well, we will talk about that, but with these podcasts, I want to go through your whole life. And it seems like on paper, I read Carmel, California, and I think a charmed California life of beaches, surfing, and growing up for you, Carmel's home, right?
Yeah, Carmel's home.
And what's that place like? I mean, it just sounds perfect.
Yeah, I would say it's a vacation destination. I wouldn't say there's a ton going on for kids my age, especially kids in extreme sports. There's not a lot of that there. It's definitely more of an older crowd or a family crowd. But yeah, it's a beautiful place, very scenic. It was a really nice place to grow up. I think I'm really lucky I was able to live in such a beautiful place and able to commute to the mountains with my family. And yeah, I was a pretty privileged child.
When you say privileged, it's funny because your parents are both teachers.
Yeah.
It would seem like it's hard to live a privileged life off 2 teachers' salaries. I mean, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have 2 brothers and 1 older sister.
So 2 brothers, 1 sister, and then you had a place at Alpine Meadows.
Yeah.
2 teachers, 4 kids in a family, and able to live a privileged life. Was there money coming in from somewhere else that we don't know about?
My dad did inherit quite a bit of money from his parents, but my parents really didn't believe in holding on to it. They kind of spent it all. By the time I was 10, I would say it was all gone. But from being born till 10, my life was amazing. We would spend every summer in Hawaii. We used to have a condo in Maui, and that was amazing. And yeah, I think they just invested in a couple of properties. Obviously, our condo in Alpine that they bought at a super good price compared to nowadays. It's worth a lot more. And yeah, we just traveled a ton. We would go on these amazing family vacations every summer, basically until the funds ran out.
Well, that's one way to do it. I mean, if you can just let it sit in the bank, it's just going to grow. And who wants it to grow when you can spend it?
Yeah, exactly. But it's funny because all my siblings remember all of the vacations, and I was kind of the baby, and I don't necessarily remember anywhere that we went.
And then growing up, how did you get into skiing? Is it just weekend trips to Alpine Meadows?
Yeah. So, well, my parents weren't even big skiers. They taught themselves how to ski after college or maybe their last years in college, but they just loved it, and they started going to Tahoe a bunch, and we would travel around. We used to go to Kirkwood a bunch when I was a baby, and then they found that spot in Alpine. And obviously, since I was the youngest of 4, I just did whatever my siblings were doing. And my 2 older brothers got onto the freestyle team there, and so I quickly followed them and joined that when I was, I think, 8 years old. And I think there was actually supposed to be a minimum age requirement of 10, but I was just always around and following them anyways, that the coach just let me on.
Those weekends for you, were you in the car 10 hours a weekend going to ski?
Yeah, basically. It's, 11 hours because it's 5.5 hours from Carmel to Tahoe without any major disruptions.
So are a lot of your childhood memories skiing and being in a car?
Yeah, kind of. By the time I was in high school, I got used to it, and I feel like the drives just went so fast, and I was never driving, so I just kind of sat in the passenger seat with my mom. But yeah, definitely the younger year memories of driving up there are pretty funny because we had 6 of us in a giant Suburban, and we would just go up after school on Fridays. So we'd get there super late, and I think I just slept on the floor of the back seat. She would just make these beds for us, and everyone would have their spot, and they would plug in the tiny old TV into the converter, and we would watch DuckTales all the way up. So they made it pretty good for us.
And then what other sports did you play when you were growing up?
I played a lot of water polo, and I swam a lot. That was our other thing. Our whole family was little water babies. I would go to swim practice pretty much 5 days a week after school every day from the time that I was probably 6 years old and all through high school.
Jesus, did you like it?
I don't know if I liked it. I would always try to think of excuses to not go to swim practice. And for some reason, the answer was always that swimming will fix it. Apparently, swimming's really good for you, and it's hard to find an excuse to get out of it. But I was on the same team for that many years. So obviously, I had all my friends there, and it was fun. But swimming's not a fun sport.
No, it's a ton of work. You go and swim 50 laps, and I don't see any fun in that unless you're a person who likes ultra marathons.
All you do is swim back and forth. I guess as a child, they probably make it more fun with drills and, group activities. But yeah, it's still just basically a workout. But I am super grateful because I'm a really good swimmer, and it's a nice option of working out.
Did you play water polo in grade school and high school?
I probably started playing water polo in 7th grade. I didn't get into it until a little bit later. And water polo actually is fun. I really liked water polo because I was already really good at swimming. Then we got to play a game.
And that's another one of those sports like skiing where there is almost zero diversity, it seems like. You have to have a lot of money to get into water polo.
Yeah, I think you have to be from California or maybe Florida. I think they play water polo there too. But it's a weird sport. A lot of people, especially in the ski community, when I tell them I played water polo, they're like, what? So, yeah, it was weird, but I love it.
I've never really played. I've never even really seen it, I don't think.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say.
What kind of kid are you in high school? If I have to put you in a group, you have nerds, jocks, all these different groups. Where do you fit in?
I was definitely a little jockey, but not like tomboy jockey. Like I still had my girlfriends and I was pretty selective with my friends in high school. I really didn't make any new long-term friends that I didn't already have going into it. But yeah, I would say like girly jock. The thing is that I went to an all-girls high school. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know that was at a Catholic school.
Yeah, it was a Catholic boarding school, but it was only like half of the school was boarding, so half of it was also day students, and I was a day student.
And did you look at the other girls and be like, yeah, my parents actually love me, so I can come home. Yours don't?
Kind of. I don't know. I was always super confused by people who would send their high school kids off like across the country, or there were a ton of them from like Hong Kong and Mexico. I was like, what is going on with your family life?
Yeah, I never understood that either. I believe in a quality education, but the kids thing, you only have them for so long, and to ship them off for the most important years means that you're probably not going to have the greatest relationship later on in life.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's just my assumption. Who knows? If I had the money, I'd send my kid off in a heartbeat. I'm kidding. Do you have to wear a uniform to school?
Yeah. When I went to college, that was the first time that I had ever gone to school and not had to wear a uniform.
Did you always go to private school?
Yeah, so my dad taught at an Episcopal private K-8 school, Carmel Valley, and so we all went there, and then we all went to private school too. I almost went to public school, and I actually went in 8th grade. I visited, did like a day tour, and it just scared the shit out of me.
You would have been so dumb if you went to public school. I'm glad you went private.
No, I was just like so sheltered at that point and so used to private school education and tiny classes, and it would have been definitely a transition to go to public high school at that point.
Ski-wise, I mean, that's the passion as well. I mean, you're swimming, and that's Monday through Friday, but every weekend is skiing when it's winter, and you're competing in everything, it sounds like. You join the team when you're 8 years old, and you compete in moguls, aerials, half-pipe, big air, and slopestyle?
Yeah, I definitely didn't choose anything specific at that point. I was just on the program. I was doing every event that came up.
I can understand moguls, half-pipe, big air, and slopestyle because they all fit in the same bucket. They're all involving skiing.
Yeah.
But aerials is totally different, and it's got to be intimidating hitting an aerial jump.
Yeah, that one was weird. And the only time we ever really did hit a aerials jump was when we came out to Park City and would ski at the UOP. And my go-to trick was a front flip off of the single, which I think is crazy now.
You're like, oh, I can at least get my head around and I'll be fine.
Yeah, and I wasn't ever doing how you think of aerials, like back lays or back folds or anything. It was basically like big air on an aerials jump.
Still, hitting that jump and just the trajectory of those things has to be pretty intimidating.
Yeah, and the landing is like, I don't know what angle that is, but you basically just fall out of the sky.
It's insane what those guys do. And you can ski too, so you can usually ski out of it. I don't know how great of skiers a lot of the aerials folks are. They seem more gymnastics inclined.
Yeah, definitely.
Brothers and sisters-wise, are you tight? Are you guys skiing together too?
They didn't really pursue skiing when they got to high school. I was the only one that really like stuck with it. My brothers are 6'4" and 6'5", and skiing just didn't really like suit them by the time they hit puberty. They were big into water polo and swimming.
They didn't play basketball?
No, they didn't. They were water babies.
Their coach must have been so pissed. 6'4", 6'5", and they're in the pool. What does a pro water polo player do with life? Nothing.
I think you either go to the Olympics or you coach water polo.
And even if you're a water polo athlete, it's a different experience than being a pro skier. I mean, if you win the gold with the team in water polo, you're a gold medal on a team sport.
I know.
The spotlight's not on you, but in skiing, if you get it, it's all about you. So it's still not even the same as being a true Olympian in a non-team sport.
Yeah, it's very different because you can just be a bench warmer and you still get a gold medal at the Olympics.
Yeah, how many people play in the water?
There's 7 on a team, 6 in the field and 1 in the goal.
Do they call it the field?
No, I guess you'd call it the pool.
Okay, just curious. So you're a big fan of water sports.
Yeah, I am. I still love the water.
Well, I'm going to take a break really quick. I'm going to talk about my sponsors.
Okay.
And my first sponsor is Evo. And Evo is way more than the best ski, snowboard, surf, bike, skate, and clothing website in the country. Why? For a lot of reasons. One, they have retail locations in Denver, Seattle, and Portland, and they carry the best brands and only hire the most knowledgeable and approachable people to make your shopping experience great. Evo prides itself on its core values of creating a gathering place with a cause. They are an art gallery, a movie venue, a travel base, and they have the goal of making a difference in the world. On the web front, Evo offers a low price guarantee, free shipping on orders over $50, and a no-hassle return policy. For listening to the show, they're going to give you 10% off your entire order. When you check out, use the code capital TPM, the number 10, and you'll get your 10% off. My next sponsor is Rescue Water. They are proactive recovery. And if you've been hearing the ads on the podcast and still haven't tried Rescue Water, well, you're blowing it. What I want you to do is make Rescue Water your post-workout, ski, snowboard, skate park, or practice drink. Trust me, when you do, you will feel the benefits immediately, and it will hydrate you so much more than your traditional sports drink. There's no gimmicks here. It's science and it works. And the game changer for me is that it really works after a big night. Drink one before bed and you're good in the morning. I wake up feeling like I'm 21 again. And we're going to make it easier than ever to try Rescue Water. Head on over to rescuewater.com, that's RESQ water.com, order a 12-pack, enter the code RESQWaterTPM, all one word, and you're going to get a 20% discount. Rescue Water is also available on Amazon and Amazon Prime. Those are my sponsors right there. Now we're going to get back into it with your life. And you're part of the ski program. You're doing just about everything you can do. Ballet, moguls, acro, all those different things. And when do you decide to specialize in one discipline? Because there's a lot going on and eventually you have to pick one or two, I would think.
I stopped doing moguls probably when I was like a sophomore in high school, maybe earlier. I don't remember the exact time, but I never liked moguls. I didn't like the atmosphere at the top of the course or the people. I really just didn't like the people that I was skiing moguls with.
Okay.
It wasn't really anyone on my team. It was just like when we would go to competitions, I just felt like everyone was super like stuck up and mean. I definitely wasn't the best mogul skier, and so everyone probably thought I was like a major loser. But yeah, I just kind of like phased out of that pretty quick.
So then you're still doing slopestyle, big air, aerials, and half pipe?
No, I wasn't doing aerials really anymore either, just because we didn't have access to anything like that in Tahoe. So by the time I was in high school, I would say that my freestyle team, I was like in the older crowd. So like the majority of the team was my age at that point, and the majority of the team was boys. And so I just kind of did whatever they did, which was mostly just slopestyle and half pipe.
Is there a time where you get laser focused on half pipe?
Yeah, probably like my later years in high school, I would say senior year maybe, but I never really made an intentional decision to just ski half pipe. It was more like I just started getting invited to half pipe contests.
You get invited to half pipe contests and that's when you're pegged as a half pipe skier?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I went to New Zealand for Junior Worlds when I was like 19. And so, yeah, I would say that's definitely when I was no longer doing slopestyle at that point.
Before you get to Junior Worlds, how's the up-and-coming contest scene going for you? Where are you competing and what kind of things are you winning?
Before Junior Worlds?
Yeah.
It was all regional. I would go to like the Aspen Open, but that was like the biggest travel event or probably the biggest event of the year for me. And I guess nationals too, but I feel like those were in Tahoe when I guess we went to Waterville one year. But yeah, it was all like Far West Division regional competitions, I guess, and then some of the minor USSA comps.
Did it look like you had a bright future? Were you doing well in these contests and you're like, wow, I'm going to do this?
Not really. I think I was a pretty inconsistent skier at that point. My coach thought it would be a good idea for me to do a straight over backflip in my run. And so I rarely landed that. But I did really enjoy it. And I think I definitely had potential. I think my coach definitely saw that I had potential and he really wanted me to pursue skiing. And at that point, I was a senior in high school and I didn't know if I was going to college or not. Or I guess when I was a junior, I was trying to figure it out. I mean, all of my siblings had gone to college, so it wasn't really like something that I thought about, like not going. But my coach really wanted me to take a break and pursue skiing.
What do your parents think about that? Because they're teachers and they probably really care about your education.
Yeah, they wanted me to go to college. I mean, they weren't like super pushy about it, but they just thought I'd been balancing it my whole life between like school and skiing and traveling that far to Tahoe, that yeah, they didn't really think. And I agreed with them that I could continue balancing it and just see where it went from there. We discussed how I could take winters off from college if I wanted to, which is what I ended up doing.
Yeah, you ended up going to college on a scholarship, right?
No, not on a scholarship.
Really? Oh, well, I read it somewhere.
I got recruited by the water polo team at UC Davis, but I actually didn't even play on their team. I went to Hell Week and then I quit because it was hell.
What is Hell Week for a college water polo player?
It sucks. It's so much swimming. It was death for me. And I hadn't really been keeping up with necessarily the strictest workouts all summer between high school and college. And so I went to Hell Week not in my best shape. And I actually had to sit out the first day because my medical charts hadn't been like cleared. I had to get examined for a couple of injuries that I had sustained. And so when I went to practice the second day, the coach told me to basically do the entire first day's workout that I had missed and then to do the second day's workout with them. I thought I was going to die that day.
So that coach ruined water polo for you.
Yeah, well, yeah, not really. I think if I had tried to play on the D1 water polo team there, it would have ruined water polo for me. But instead, I just decided that I would play club and I had a great time.
I guess I'm going to step back a little bit and talk about some injuries because, like I said, part of your career has been defined by injuries. And I think the first one happens in like 2007. You break your kneecap. And what happens there?
That was my first big injury, and it was really traumatic. It was right before my 17th birthday. I was skiing with David Wise, who I still ski with because he's on the men's half-pipe team.
He's better than you.
Yeah, he's really good. So we were in the park, and he was coaching me around. I was never like big into rails. That's probably why I didn't pursue slopestyle, but I really wasn't into rails after this day because he kind of coaxed me into hitting this down rail. It was like a double barrel, like those skinny double barrel rails. And I had never hit a down rail before. And I like go into it like I'm about to hit it and I chicken out, pull out before I get on. And then he's like giving me grief. So I hike back up and I go to hit it and I get on and I slip out and just land on my knee on the rail. And I definitely like kind of blacked out at that point, but it hurt really bad. I knew that. I didn't know what was wrong, but I couldn't stand up. One of the like parent coaches found me in the park like screaming a couple minutes later and tried to get me to walk it off. He obviously didn't know that I had just shattered my kneecap, but for some reason I just remember it took so long to get into first aid. So in first aid I had also gashed my knee when I landed on the rail. And so in first aid, they had their fingers inside of my knee and they could feel that my kneecap was broken.
Ugh.
And so at that point, they called an ambulance and I went to the hospital and got like immediate surgery.
What did they do? Like put some mesh in there and get it all together?
Yeah, they used 2 screws and like a mesh net to hold it all together. Because I had surgery so quickly, I don't really know why, but they gave me, what is it called? That shot in your spine that numbs your whole like lower extremities.
Epidural.
Yeah, so they gave me an epidural, which was also miserable. That hurts really bad. And then because of the epidural, well, not because of it, but I had to stay in the hospital for a week after surgery.
Wow.
Because my like whole lower body like wouldn't recover from the epidural.
Oh, geez. So are you worried about being able to move at that point?
No, I could move, but I would get super nauseous every time they made me stand up and like walk the hall on my crutches, and my bladder wasn't working. I couldn't go to the bathroom on my own, so I still had the, what's it called?
Catheter.
Yeah, I still had the catheter in, and so they wouldn't let me leave until I could pee on my own, which took like a week.
Wow.
Yeah, and then even when I finally did pee on my own, it was like such a great day. I got to go home. My parents like made a big bed in the back of the Suburban and drove me back to Carmel. And the next day, I wasn't peeing again, and I had to go back to the hospital on my 17th birthday and get a catheter.
That's such a great birthday present.
Yeah, it was a rough year. A rough welcome to 17.
So how long does that take you to recover? Because that's a serious injury with the most important part of a skier's body.
Yeah, it took a long time. I didn't ski anymore that season. I didn't ski until the next season, I think. And I was bummed because I had been invited to, I don't even know what event. Maybe it was Junior Worlds that year in Switzerland, and I was planning on going to that, and I couldn't go. I like hit full athlete depression. I had never like been injured like that before, and I couldn't do anything basically for a while. I started swimming again pretty soon, like probably 4 weeks after surgery. I got back in the pool and started swimming, and I was doing like meets and stuff again, which was kind of funny.
Do you have a lot of ribbons?
From swimming?
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes. And in swimming, they give out ribbons for like 8th place. So I have so many ribbons. I don't know if they're still around, but at one point I had so many ribbons.
If you win a gold, there's going to be a demand for Brita. And I think you just have online contests giving away your ribbons.
My swim ribbons.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be great. They're really pretty. They're all different colors. I didn't really get ribbons in high school, though. That was definitely more of a younger kid thing.
It'd be so much cooler if it was trophies. Ribbons go in a drawer.
Yeah.
So you get back from the knee. How long does it take you to get back on snow? It's the 2008 season when you're skiing again?
Yeah, 2008, I guess, that next winter. I don't think I really skied at all that summer. Maybe I went to Mount Hood that summer, but that would probably only have been for a week.
Did you do ski camps at Hood?
No, I never did like the Mount Hood ski camps. I would just go with my freestyle team.
Does it take a while to get comfortable on your skis again, or is it just like riding a bike?
Well, I definitely didn't hit any down rails that year, but I think everything else was fine. I've never had like that big mental block when I come back from an injury.
Well, it's a good thing, because if you did, it would be a tough road for you.
Yeah, it would. I'm lucky.
You will move to 2009, and then you tear your thumb ligament, which is something that every skier seems to do, but it's such a frustrating injury.
Yeah, that was stupid.
What happened?
I was competing at nationals at squaw, and I just landed weird, and my pole ripped my thumb back, and I tore the ligament. I think it was more just the surgeon that I went to. He was not the normal ski town surgeon. He was in Sacramento, and he was just so mean. Like, usually all my friends who had done the same thing, the surgeon would mold their cast to their ski pole. And so when I went in there, I was like, yeah, this is fine. Like, can you just mold my cast to my ski pole? And he was like, absolutely not. You're not skiing. Like, this is a 3-month recovery. And he was so mean about it. I had surgery, and I woke up in this like plaster molded cast that went past my elbow.
Oh, Jesus.
So my arm was like bent in this giant wrapped up cast, and that I was supposed to keep on for like a week. And I was a freshman in college at that point. So I went back to my dorm and was like, this is absolutely not happening. I think that first day I sawed it off at least like to my wrist or to my like forearm so I could bend my arm.
This is just for your thumb, and he put it up past your elbow.
I don't know if he just like didn't like me or if that was standard protocol, but he was a real jerk.
He was probably trying to protect you. Like, this girl thinks she's going to ski, but I want to save her thumb, so I'll do this.
Yeah. And it was like spring at that point. I was like still playing water polo. And so obviously I couldn't play water polo with a cast on. So everyone was just disappointed in me. I feel like it was just a stupid injury.
Were you a good water polo player? Like one of the better people on the team?
Yeah, I made I don't know if they called it varsity in club water polo, but I made like the A team as a freshman. I was definitely like one of the starters. I was a quick little swimmer.
Okay, I don't even know what that means, but yeah, quick little swimmer.
I guess that injury ended that season too, which was so stupid.
The 2009 injury, it ends your season. You're in school, and are you having fun in school? Do you party at all? Because I know you'll have a beer here and there. I really don't know what your party behaviors are like, but I hear you like to have a good time, and I know you're like a fun-loving person. Do you take advantage of that in college?
Yeah, I would say freshman year of college was definitely one of my rowdier years of my life. Yeah, it was really fun. I would say me and my college roommate, we were just like best friends, inseparable, and we really didn't have that many other friends. But my brother also went to UC Davis, and he was a senior at the time when I was a freshman. He was playing T1 water polo. And so we pretty much would just hang out with my brother and all of his friends, which was basically just his water polo team. And yeah, we partied. I was a mess that year because of like all these injuries that spring, especially. I had that cast on my arm, and then we went to this crazy houseboats weekend that all of UC Davis does every Memorial weekend. They go to Lake Shasta, and everyone rents a houseboat and puts way too many people on one houseboat, and people just party for 3 days straight. And the first day that we were there, I went on a friend's like speedboat, and I love tubing. Tubing is one of my like favorite activities ever. And so I told them that I really wanted to go tubing. And so obviously they were down. And so me and my college roommate, Laura, got on the tube. It was like one of those sitting tubes. Usually you go on like the tube on your stomach, and you hold on with your hands.
For sure.
But it was one of the like upright ones where you sit there, which are so dangerous. We went over like a wake and I kneed myself in the face so hard. I got the gnarliest black eye on the first day of this 3-day like boat party trip, and I had a cast on. so I just looked like such a ragtag like girl that got in some serious trouble or something. But I made a lot of friends that weekend.
So are you pretty much a tomboy?
Yeah, kind of. We definitely like weren't girly girls.
I think about you walk around with a black eye and a cast, and it screams tomboy for some reason.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the vibe that I got from other people, especially in my classroom. Like when I would go back to college and I like would go to my classes, I feel like everyone thought I was crazy.
After your first year of school, you end up going to New Zealand, and that's for the Junior Worlds. You said that's where you really focused on pipe, but that's the big turning point. And is that because you're going to focus on pipe and be one of the next stars for American pipe skiing?
Yeah, I guess so. I just had never gone to Junior Worlds because the last time I'd been hurt before it. And so, yeah, I was excited to go to New Zealand. Obviously, I'd never traveled that far either, especially not by myself. And yeah, I'd say because I won that event, I definitely decided that I would keep pursuing it.
Is that when you know that this is going to be a full-time career? I'm going to quit playing water polo and I'm going to just go all in and see what happens?
I wouldn't say that was when I knew, but that was my ticket to X Games that following winter. And so luckily I met my current coach, Ben Verge, in New Zealand, and we really clicked really well. And I was looking for a new coach. And so we hit it off, and he was a big advocate for me, and he already had a lot of connections that I didn't. And so he petitioned to get me into X Games. And I guess I found out about that the following winter, probably in like November or December. I got my X Games invite, and that was when I knew I wanted to quit everything and do skiing.
Once you got the X Games invite, because the X Games is your Super Bowl at that point.
Yeah, basically.
Is this about the time that you and I started talking?
Yeah. So I had been talking to you that summer. I remember we got a phone call. I was in Whistler. We had gone to Whistler to ski halfpipe, and I was talking to you.
Andrew Thomas, who I think was a friend of yours, was like, hey, you need to check out this Brita Sigourney. She is going to be the next badass in halfpipe. We should get her on K2. And then did some research, called you, and the way that I did it with people, especially with contest people, because in the K2 world, we weren't focused on contests. It wasn't the driver. The driver was skiing in general, but we had contest people on the program. So with anybody in contest, it was, we're going to give you a prove it here. And, if you can prove it, then you're going to be on the team. Well, you get invited to that X Games the first year. And how did you do?
I got second place, which was a total surprise to me. I was not expecting that, and it was amazing.
Going into that contest, are you super nervous?
I wasn't nervous. I remember it just being like the best time ever. And it was different back then. Like we had way more training days at X Games than we do nowadays. And I like went to all of them just because the half pipe was the best pipe that I've ever ridden at that point. And I was just stoked. I was like learning new tricks there. And yeah, I was just like skiing really well and having a ton of fun. And obviously I think I was nervous like going into the event, but I still like, I didn't have any expectations or pressure. So it wasn't the same nerves as nowadays.
Everybody's like, who is this Brita Sigourney girl and how do we pronounce her name?
Yeah, exactly.
That one, you stand on the podium with Sarah Burke.
Yeah, that was the thing. I got second place to Sarah Brick, which was like even cooler than had I won, I think at that point.
Are you involved in the ski scene? Are you on New Schoolers and are you a Grom as well, knowing what's going on in the movies?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I looked up to her like my entire ski career. And I remember, I think my first event with her was WSI, and I just remember when she talked to me at the start gate. It's like, oh my gosh, she's so nice.
So standing on the podium and looking up to her had to be like a dream come true. It's holy shit, I'm not only here competing, but I'm on the podium with the people I've dreamed of hanging out with.
Yeah, it was a big moment.
That's the big moment in your sponsor career too. And before we talk about sponsorship in you, I am going to talk about my sponsors one more time. And my next sponsor brews beer, drinks beer, and has fun doing it, period. I'm talking about the 10 Barrel Brewery based out of Bend, Oregon. And the folks at 10 Barrel pride themselves on shredding POW in the winter and drinking beer outside as often as possible. They're outdoors-minded people who believe in the products they make and love the place they live and play. They've just released their seasonal Goggle Tan IRA, and it is tasty to say the least. 10 Barrel is at the end of their Goggle Tan tour that features live music, a mini pub, which I really need to have in my backyard, and giveaways. It all happens from 2 to 5 p.m., and the final tour stop is February 24th at Eldora. 10 Barrel is also a proud supporter of Jeremy Jones's Protect Our Winters Foundation, along with countless other events in the snow space. If you ski or snowboard, support the beer that supports you, 10 Barrel. You can find out more over at 10barrel.com. My final sponsor is the Summit at Snoqualmie, which has been my go-to ski destination for the past 20 years. There's a lot of great skiing in Washington State, but the Summit should be the go-to choice for Seattle skiers and snowboarders. As far as the mountains go, Alpental is the choice for the hardcore rider, while East, West, and Central have something for everyone. But really, the Summit's 45 minutes from Seattle, which makes powder weekday mornings a reality. You can shred the Summit and be back at your desk by noon. And on weekends, I've never spent more than an hour and a half in my car round trip, and I've never had to turn around because I couldn't find a parking spot. It's the only place in Washington that can boast that. And if you don't ski or snowboard, you have to check out the tubing hill. Anyone can do it, and it is so much fun. Find out more at summitatsnoqualmie.com. Those are my sponsors, so we'll get into yours now. And with K2, like we said, it was a prove-it year for you. And I think we signed you up in like November-ish. It's a prove-it year. You do the X Games in December. You end up with silver. I think we paid you like a little bonus, even though we didn't have anything planned.
That was awesome.
Just because it was like, holy shit, this girl got second at the X Games and we're not giving her a penny. We need to figure this out. And then from there, it was like, all right, you proved it. You don't have a prove-it year. We're going to sign you to a contract. I think it was like a meager $8,000 or something like that.
Yeah, it was a 3-year, $10,000. I was stoked.
3 years, $10,000 a year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I was going to say, if it's 3 years for $10,000 total, wow, I was a good negotiator.
No.
On top of K2, who else did you get hooked up with?
I was on Smith. I had been on them for a while, but yeah, I started getting paid by them actually that year, the following year. I think I was riding for Under Armour that year, but most of my sponsors were just Flow. I was just skiing because I loved skiing. I definitely wasn't making a lot of money. I think actually when I got that second place at X Games, I had been really wanting to go to France later that year, but I didn't have enough money to go to France. And so like the first thing that I realized when I got second at X Games was that I could go to France.
How much did you get for second at the X Games?
I think it's $12,500.
That's about 4 seconds of advertising time for them.
Yeah, exactly. It's a big cash pit.
It is. But they did create a sport.
Yeah.
Or a venue for you guys to compete. So other sponsors that you're with now, I mean, one that I look at that's super cool that you don't see too many skiers on, you're on Holden and Cole. You don't see too many skiers on these brands, and they're awesome brands. How does that work out?
Yeah. So I got lined up with Cole through Ben Verge, through his connections in Sun Valley. He knew Gumby, and he had been getting hooked up for a while, and so he was like, you should hit them up. Like, they're great. They'll give you all the hats you ever need. So I did, and they're super nice, and they were super stoked on me and Wing Tai, who was on my team, and we had been skiing together for the last few years.
He was so good. He just could never hold it together, and he got hurt a lot.
I know. I love him. I love that kid. We have a lot of great memories together. He was fun to watch.
Yeah.
Well, I thought he was fun to watch. Some people would not be able to watch because they were so worried.
That he's going to blow up?
Yeah, which he did sometimes, but that was part of it. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't really think anything of it, but yeah, they definitely only sponsored snowboarders. And I don't think they really acknowledged that they were sponsoring us. I think Gumby was just a really cool guy, and he's the owner of the company. And so he was down with us. And so he would just hook us up. We'd meet him for lunch once a year. He'd randomly be in the same spot as us, and he would just give us a little bit of cash. It was super informal.
He'd pay you out of his wallet?
Yeah, he would just give Ty and I a couple $100 bills each. It was funny. I've been with Cole since then, and they've definitely been trying to grow their skier side of the team, which has been awesome. They even made a hat this year with skis on it.
Whoa, that's a big step.
I know, it's a big change for them, and it's funny to be a part of that. And then, yeah, I think through Cole is how I got in touch with Holden and Pow. They kind of all like had this collab together. I don't know if they did have a collab, but it's always seemed like they worked together and they were kind of in the same trio. And so, yeah, I was stoked that year. I thought all my sponsors were really cool.
I mean, Holden is a cool outerwear brand to be associated with. Did you ever work with Mikey?
Yeah, I worked with Mikey and we like did a couple photo shoots. That was a fun sponsor because it was super small too. And so, yeah, we did all the like magazine lookbook shoots in Utah, and it was just like a pretty close-knit relationship.
Are you still on that brand?
No, unfortunately, I'm not. I think they've gone through a couple tough years of disappearing and then popping back up.
So who is paying you today?
Right now, I'm on Giro and Monster.
Wait. So what happened with K2?
Well, I don't know. I did my amazing 3 years. I thought everything was going really well. And then I just got a call one day that there was no more money in the house to be given out.
So when does this happen?
This is my second year on Armada. So yeah, this happened 2 or 3 years ago.
Wow, I bet you they're kicking themselves right now.
I don't know. I'm not really sure what anyone's goal is anymore.
What do you mean?
I feel like there's so many companies these days that don't really care about contest skiers. I do feel like K2 is one of the better companies for contest skiers, and I always loved riding on them. I loved being a part of the team, but I don't know. I think a lot of companies are trying to steer away from contests.
I feel like contests don't sell that many pair of skis.
Yeah.
But the exposure that you get when you are standing on that podium at the X Games a couple weeks ago, you can't buy that kind of exposure. You have to have the athlete to do that for you.
Yeah, exactly.
It costs 10 grand to get a couple $100,000 worth of coverage. It's a good investment, but unfortunately that didn't work out. And were you super bummed?
Yeah, I was super bummed. That was like the first time I'd ever been dropped. It hurt. Getting dropped hurts. It sucks.
Especially your first ski sponsor.
Yeah, I know. I thought I was going to be with them forever. They still were one of my favorite skis, and I was definitely bummed it didn't work out. But it was right after the last Olympics, and I think the whole ski economy just took a huge plunge.
I hate to say it, but people can look at your injury history, and it's like, well, if we invest in Brita, we know hasn't finished a season in 5 years.
Yeah.
And hopefully she will, but I guess that's something I didn't have to deal with that, so I'm glad.
Yeah.
Moving forward in your career, we fast forward to the dew-torn Snow Basin and another injury, and you break your pelvis at that one. And that sounds really, really, really painful.
Well, it was a weird injury. It only hurt when I would try to walk and put pressure on my leg. They took me down in a sled because something was wrong and I was getting checked out, but I thought I was fine. I got up to leave the medical tent and then I couldn't walk. I was like, whoa, something is not right.
What happened?
I was competing at the Dew Tour at Snow Basin, and I think it was finals, and I had already landed my first run, and I was sitting in first place. And so I decided, why not step it up a little and do a 1080 in my second run? And so I did that, or I tried to do that, but I just didn't have enough speed, and I popped way too hard. And so I landed super flat and just immediately slapped the flat bottom and just crushed my pelvis, apparently. It was weird, but I still ended up winning. And so I was on the podium on crutches and everyone was like, what happened? I was like, I don't know, my groin hurts, because I didn't know it was wrong. I thought I had pulled a muscle or something.
Oh, so it wasn't unbearable pain?
No, it was just a really sharp pain when I would try to walk.
And how does that fix itself?
It just fixed itself. It wasn't out of place or anything. So it was just a couple weeks on crutches and a couple weeks of taking it easy. I mean, bones take a minimum of 6 weeks to heal. And this was the same year that I'd gotten second at the X Games. I was like, I'm going to France. And I was so upset that I had broken a bone, because I was like, God damn it, I just want to go to France. And so I think France was in 5 weeks or something. And I was like, well, maybe if I just take really good care of myself, I can still go to France and it'll heal extra fast. And so I did that. I did 2 weeks on crutches, and it was feeling a lot better. I think it was a pretty minor fracture line. And so I was like, I'm fine. I'll go to France. And so I went to France without having like been on snow yet. Go to Euro X Games over there. Go to like the first night of practice. First time back on skis. First time back in a half pipe since snow basin. And I did a straight air. Didn't pop because obviously my legs are like super weak from not really doing anything for the last 5 weeks. Clip the deck and then like somersault into the flat bottom and like shatter my collarbone.
Oh.
It was a rough injury.
So do you end up in the hospital in France?
Yeah, so they took me like in the ambulance straight to their hospital, like that was at the mountain. And it was actually really funny because my teammate Devin Logan had broken her thumb earlier that day at slopestyle practice. And Ben, our coach, had gone to the hospital with her. And apparently they like expect you to pay up front when you like go to the hospitals there.
Okay.
And get x-rays. And so he didn't have his wallet. No one had their wallet when he went with Devin. So they made him leave his like goggles and his video camera with them so that he would come back for the collateral. And so like 4 hours later, he was back at the hospital with me this time. He got in the ambulance, made them stop outside of his hotel so he could run up and grab his wallet, and then got back in the ambulance when we went to the hospital.
So how long does that take you to come back from?
I had to get surgery on that.
In France?
No, not in France. I flew home to Carmel, and the same surgeon that had done my kneecap did my collarbone. I remember sending him my x-rays like through the window of my hotel room. You can like see teens in the background, the mountain resort. And he was just laughing because like you couldn't even see the fractures because there's just so much like stuff in the background. So I got surgery on that. And that's actually a pretty quick fix. Like once you get the plate in your collarbone, you kind of feel like you're good to go.
Okay.
So I went back to UC Davis, finished out my spring semester. Yeah, I was probably skiing that summer.
2012, another hot streak where I think you win the bronze at your second X Games. You have 2 wins at the Grand Prix at Copper and Mammoth, so you're crushing it. And then you blow out your knee.
Yeah, that was, yeah. You know my timeline better than I do. I was spring skiing at Park City. It's Chinese downhill. They do it every year. That you like hike up to the very top of Park City Mountain Resort and you race all of your friends down to the bottom, like chug a beer and ride the mechanical bull all afternoon. It's like a really fun day. Everyone's dressed up in costumes. And so we did that whole event. It was super fun, having a time. After going to the bar and riding the mechanical bull and obviously having a couple of drinks there, we decided to go skiing again, which was not my best call. I was like fine to ski. I'd skied drunk before. I wasn't like completely obliterated, but definitely feeling a little loose. And I was wearing this like baseball cap. I was skiing down this run. It was a really slushy spring day and my baseball hat flies off. I like reach back to grab it while I'm still skiing and I just feel my knee pop.
Oh.
Yeah. And I knew right away. I knew that I had done my ACL. I'd never done it before, but I just felt it pop and I like heard it too. And people will tell you that when they do their ACL, they hear it. It hurt too. Sometimes people like say it doesn't hurt, but mine really hurt and I couldn't ski down. I had to get a sled. But I was supposed to go to France the next day for Euro X Games again. And obviously that all got flushed down the toilet. It wasn't my finest moment. I was disappointed in myself.
So this rehab is what, 8 months of vigorous rehab to get yourself back?
Yeah, they say ACLs are 6 months, but by the time you're actually like doing everything, it's definitely more like 8.
I would say it's 8, but before you feel like you're yourself again, it might be even like 14 months before you're like, I don't have soreness after I ski, and
yeah,
you can do stuff after 8, but it's not 100%, I don't feel like.
Yeah, you're still dealing with like consequences after you go skiing for the first few months of being back on snow. It's definitely getting swollen and you definitely have to take some more measures to bring it back down to normal.
Well, you come back from that one. And then in December of 2012, you win the Do Tour.
Yeah.
Then you go to Sochi for a test event. And you've got to be really excited because all things are looking like you might go to the Olympics. And first, when you get to Sochi, what does it look like at the test event? Is it developed at all or is it a ghost town? Because I'm sure it changes by the time you go back to the Olympics.
Sochi was so weird. I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, I had never been to Russia before, but like, yeah, we're going to the Olympic test event. They're supposed to have everything like somewhat ready for the Olympics the following year. And we get there and there is nothing ready. Like, there's kind of a facade on every building. It looks like Disneyland, how they have the fake neighborhoods and stuff. It's like a painted wall that looks like a hotel, but there's not really a hotel there. It was super weird. Like, all the athletes were staying in the same hotel, and that one was finished, but it was a weird vibe. The half pipe was so bad. The snow quality, it was like slush, like the most watery slush that would just fall apart. Like, I don't know how they even built a half pipe out of it. I remember them like raking the walls, like shaping the walls with rakes because it was too soft to use a zog in. And yeah, so that one didn't really go that well for me either. I clipped the deck there again. I think pretty much all of my half pipe injuries have been from clipping the deck. But I was doing a 540, clipped the deck, did another front flip and a half into the flat bottom, and really messed up my other shoulder.
Do you go in shoulder first?
Yeah, I landed on my arm, on my side.
You blow up your shoulder and you hurt your knee?
The knee had been bothering me all year. I didn't know what was wrong with it, but it was just something that I was going to ski through the season and get it checked out at the end of the year and see what was going on. So I blew up my shoulder, and I didn't go to the hospital there because I don't know what Russian hospitals are like, but I didn't want to deal with it. And because it was an Olympic test event, we had our whole medical staff there. So I was getting checked out by them. And they thought that I separated my AC joint really bad because my shoulder was like so inflamed and it was sticking up. It looked like the muscle was just super angry and it was like reacting and swollen. And so our doctor was like pushing down on my shoulder, trying to get the muscle to go down and taping it to like try to set it back in its place. And I didn't get any x-rays until I went home. I flew it was like a 34-hour travel day. I didn't have any painkillers. It was the most miserable travel I've ever done.
Why didn't you have any painkillers?
I don't know. I mean, they gave me like strong ibuprofen, but
I could give you strong ibuprofen.
yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know why he either didn't have it or wasn't willing to give it to me. I was confused by that. And the rest of my body was super torn up too. I was just like in so much pain from this crash. So I finally get the x-rays and they see that not only had I separated my AC joint and torn all the ligaments in my shoulder, but I had also broken the tip of my collarbone. And that's why my shoulder was like sticking up that far, because my bone was just sticking up. And so when they were pushing down on it, like obviously that wasn't what you're supposed to do to a broken collarbone. I got that fixed pretty immediately. At this point, I'm working with the US ski team doctor, and he had never done that surgery before. I guess it was super weird. He ended up just taking the fragment of my collarbone that had broken off out and not putting it back together.
It's weird that an elite athlete like yourself would get a shoulder surgery from a doctor who's never done that surgery before.
Yeah, I think it must just happen sometimes with them. It's just a really weird injury that he hadn't ever seen before. But he fixed it up good. It works well. But yeah, so then after I got that surgery, he was like, okay, I want to look at your knee because I know it's been bothering you. And so I went in like a week after shoulder surgery to get an MRI on my knee. And I had a large piece of cartilage, which is why I was experiencing so much discomfort, because I was just getting a lot of bone-on-bone action like every time I had any impact, which doesn't feel good. And to fix that, you have to get this surgery called a microfracture, where they go in and they basically drill into your bone to create this new kind of fiber that acts as a cartilage, because cartilage doesn't grow back. So you basically have to do an implant or do this new surgery that makes your bone bleed, and then it creates fake cartilage.
So it's like your bone's bleeding, stuff's coming up, and it's, I don't want to say scabbing, but for lack of a better term, it's like it hardens, that acts as the cartilage, and you can't put any weight on it.
No, this was the worst surgery I'd ever done. Not to mention, I did it 3 weeks after I had shoulder surgery. And so I was on crutches for 8 weeks after I had just repaired my entire shoulder. I mean, I got a wheelchair because if I wanted to go like outside for a long period of time, I couldn't be on crutches that long because everything was just falling apart.
Yeah.
I think that was definitely the lowest point in my ski career so far.
What do your sponsors think with all of your injuries? I mean, when you check in and say, how's it going? I blew my knee again, or I did this again. What do your sponsors say?
Everyone was super supportive. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to like yell at me in that moment. And I had still been getting good results. So at least I was like accomplishing something in my time back. But yeah, it wasn't a good feeling. Like by that injury, I just didn't even like know what to tell anyone anymore. Like I got hurt again. I'm so sorry. I know how to rehab. Like I'll be back next year. But yeah, I think I was definitely losing confidence in some of my sponsors.
Speaking of sponsorship, one thing I didn't ask is, in your best year, which I'll say is a year like this or a year like 2014 when you went to the Olympics, how much is the most that you can make? Can you make a couple $100,000 being an elite half-pipe skier?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be on top of the podiums. If you're like podiuming at 3 or 4 events a year, you can definitely make $100,000.
Do you think you make comparable money compared to what the guys make in your world?
Nowadays we do, thanks to people like Sarah and Jen who fought for all of our rights. But yeah, we make the same prize money as them at X Games and Dew Tour and all the events.
And are you valued as much as your male counterparts?
By our sponsors?
Sponsors, the media, everything.
Yeah, I don't feel like I've had any bad experiences with that. I think that sometimes sponsors should value us more, but I just think that's like their loss for not focusing on women or not making a girls ski, or yeah, I mean that's their choice, but I don't see why they wouldn't profit from that. There's tons of girls out there who want to ski and do ski and would buy girl products.
Yeah, it's funny because I think Powder put an article out recently about how you don't need women's products and how women are skiing on men's products. And while I don't think that to be true at all, I wonder what your take on that is.
No, I don't agree with that. I mean, I do ski on men's products because there aren't any women's products available to me, but that was one of my favorite parts about K2 is they always had really cool graphics and a girls line.
Did you notice the difference in the skis though? Because graphics are one thing, but do you notice a difference going from a men's to a women's ski?
I don't think I ever skied on a men's K2 ski, but I did switch to Armada after K2 and I'm on men's Armada skis, and I definitely felt an adjustment when I was getting used to those skis. They're definitely stiffer and a different side cut. I mean, that could just be the different ski models, but yeah, I don't know. I liked my K2 skis a lot.
Going into 2013-14 season, I mean, this is the year that you need to qualify for the Olympics. You're coming off the biggest knee surgery you've ever had. You've got your shoulder totally rebuilt. I mean, you pretty much probably have 30 screws in your body at this point. And yeah. What do you have to do to qualify? Do you think there's even a chance that you can come back from these injuries and make the U.S. Olympic team?
Oh, yeah. I don't think that was ever a doubt in my mind. I mean, I had already come back from so many injuries, and like the year before I had blown my knee and I won the first event of the season. I won Dew Tour. And so just having like that confidence, like I said before, I've never like had to overcome that like mindset of being hurt. I just like was always so excited to get back to skiing again and to be doing what I loved again, that I never felt like I had to overcome any big setbacks mentally. And I guess for the Olympics, it wasn't really any different for me. And I got hurt again before in the fall. That was when I spiral fractured my ankle.
Jesus.
And at that point, I feel like I had just had so many injuries that I was just like numb to it. Like it wasn't a big deal anymore. That was just like how my life went. I would just have another surgery and it was fine. But at that point, I had 3 surgeries in 1 year. Yeah, I came back from it like fine.
So did you have to qualify in the traditional way, or did they give you the discretionary spot?
No, I qualified. I qualified as the second American, I think. I had 2 podiums in the beginning of the year again. I think I podiumed at Dew Tour, and then I won the Copper Grand Prix. And so I was looking really good going into like our Christmas break, and then we had 3 more events after that, and I got 1 more podium at Park City. And so I qualified with a bunch of points.
And is your ankle solid at this point? How long does it take to come back from the spiral fracture?
Yeah, the ankle was fine. They put a plate in there and like more screws. So I definitely had to do some special boot molding for it. But other than like that, it was fine.
You make the team, and does your whole family go to Russia?
My parents went to Russia, and then one of my older brothers actually surprised me and came to Russia too. his work surprised him and decided that he should be there and bought him a super last minute flight to Russia.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was super nice of them.
Is he still with that company?
Yes, he is.
Okay, good. I was going to say he's an asshole if he left. They were good to him.
Yeah. No, they're good to him.
And what was the experience like for you? I'm sure the food was McDonald's and...
Yeah. Yeah, there were some negative aspects to it, but the whole Olympics experience in general was amazing. I had so much fun. Yeah, I mean, I'd never been to an Olympics before, so we got to go watch all the other events because we didn't compete until towards the end of the Olympics. And so we were just kind of hanging out for the first 2 weeks and taking it all in, which was really fun. The food was terrible, like you mentioned. The athlete village cafeteria was just the greasiest food you could imagine. It was so gross. So I pretty much lived off of bottled yogurt and honey sticks and white bread with packaged tuna from the USA House. And McDonald's was a treat. We would go down to the coastal village because there was only a McDonald's down there at that athlete village. And we would load up on McDonald's.
How is there only one McDonald's down in the coastal village? Because in my town, I have 14. And they sponsor the games. They can't give you one.
Yeah, they didn't think it was important to put one in the mountain village, but it really was. That was the best quality food we were eating there.
Wow, that says a lot about what they're doing for the athletes at the Olympic Games.
Yeah, they take great care of us.
As far as the contest goes, are you disappointed with sixth or just happy to be there? What is your mindset?
I was definitely disappointed. We had qualifiers right before finals that same night, and I had qualified in second. I'd skied really well, and so I was just trying to do the same thing in finals, and I think I like to blame it on exhaustion. I was so tired. We had done a full warm-up for qualifiers, done qualifiers, had another 45-minute warm-up for finals. I did the whole thing, so I was I gotta do this. I'm on a roll, keep going. And then I just couldn't put a run down for finals.
Well, you need to work on that this year.
Yeah.
That's your Olympic experience. You come back. I'm sure there's a lot of media hoopla that you've never experienced before. Anything crazy around just the opportunities created for you being an Olympian?
I'd say with being a sixth place Olympian, there wasn't anything crazy. It was fun to go back to my hometown and go talk to my schools and do all that stuff. But media-wise, I don't think anyone really pays attention to the athletes unless you get a medal.
I agree with you. You got to be on that podium to get their attention. And then from 2015, 16, 17, are you injury-free?
Yeah, I am.
So that's amazing for you. You've gone 3 years without a surgery. Before that, you had, 8, 9 surgeries?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a good couple of years.
How many screws do you think you have in your body?
Well, I've had 7 surgeries, so at least 1 screw for every surgery, but usually more 2, or I guess in my collarbones case, there's 7. So I don't know. I've never added that up.
So you're like the bionic woman.
Yeah, I've got a lot of metal in me. I can't go through those airport metal detector things.
And then 2015 is a strong year for you as well. You get your 2nd bronze medal at the X Games. You're 3rd at the freestyle tour. You're injury-free. And then 2016 is another great year. A bunch of top 10 finishes. You get a 3rd place at the Dew Tour. There's not a lot of press around it because it's not really an Olympic year.
Yeah.
And it seems like the Olympic years, there's a lot more press, but you're doing well. Then we walk into this year, which is on paper one of your best years in a long time. Your confidence has to be at an all-time high right now. You're going into the Olympics. You had your first win in 4 years. And that's got to feel good because for you, and this has to be frustrating, one of your best friends in the world is Maddie Bowman, right?
Yeah.
Maddie Bowman usually is in that number 1 spot, it seems like.
Yeah, I know. Well, she is, and it is frustrating. I told her because at this last X Games, I got 2nd place. I was in 1st place until Maddie had to bump me down into 2nd, and that was her 5th X Games gold. And I've never won X Games gold. I've only gotten 2nd and 3rd. And I told her, I was like, God damn it, Maddie, you could have just let me have gold for once. But no, I'm super happy for her. She's had a rough couple years too, like me. And so I'm glad that we're both feeling in our prime right now.
Is there any tension ever? It's got to be so frustrating to be like, I just had my best run ever, but Maddie's going to go. You're hoping that Maddie does well but doesn't beat you, and she always beats you.
I know. But her run is so technical. Like, I wish I could complain about it, but she's just doing gnarly shit. Like, I completely understand. But there's never any, like, real tension there.
Does she ever feel bad that you're always second?
I don't know. I feel like she says she feels bad, but I don't know if she actually does.
Would you feel bad if you were first and someone else is in second?
Probably not. That's exactly how I was thinking about it.
So you qualified for the Olympics. You're on the team. This is going to be the biggest year of your career. And I'm guessing that this is your last hurrah with Olympics and serious competition, but that's a guess. What do you think after the games? What's the future of Brita's ski career going to be?
Oh, God. I honestly don't know. I mean, at the beginning of this year, you could have asked me that like before the season started, and I would say, yeah, this is definitely my last hurrah. But it's really hard to quit after you get on so many podiums and after you have so much success. So I definitely want to take a step back. I don't want to do every single halfpipe contest that will be next year. But ideally, I would like to pick and choose, like just do the fun ones.
It's nice when you're in a position just to pick and choose and do the fun ones.
Yeah. And I really want to get into skiing more powder for a living because I'm jealous of all those people.
Well, you have a boyfriend who spends his time skiing a lot of powder, right?
Yeah, luckily I have that connection, but that's always a struggle just to get him to commit to any trips with me.
Well, you should work on that or get another boyfriend. I'm kidding.
Yeah, he wants me to get a couple investments, which I'm thinking about.
He wants you to get what?
A snowmobile, and I was thinking about getting a trailer. It's all just dreaming right now, but I could definitely be down to switch over a little bit.
Well, you know what I think you should do is just win the gold medal, beat Maddie, then reach out to the snowmobile brand of choice and say, hey, I'm your Olympic gold medalist. I need a trailer and a sled, and I'm going to put some edits out for you with my medal on, and you can use them. And that's how you get a free sled. You got to win the games first.
That's a good call.
But you can do that.
Yeah. I forgot how much you can sell your soul after you win an Olympic medal.
You have to win an Olympic medal first to realize that you can sell your soul.
Yeah, exactly.
At this point in the show, I am going to bring something back that I haven't done in a while, but everybody asked me to bring back. And unfortunately, you're the first person to do this. It's called Inappropriate Questions.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And I didn't get anybody to ask questions because the way I'm going to do it now is I'm going to ask questions or I'm going to bring in other people to ask questions. This week, I am going to ask the questions, which for you is probably not good. Probably not bad either. So my first inappropriate question for Brita Sigourney is you've been known to date slopestyle skiers, not really half-pipe skiers at all. What pro skiers have you dated in your lifetime?
Well, everyone knows I dated Joss Christensen for a couple of years.
You came up in the podcast.
Yeah, he was my first pro circuit boyfriend.
Well, it's a good one. You picked a gold medalist there.
Yeah, I know, right? But other than him, I've only dated Tim.
Okay, so only two. Not too bad. Number 2 on my questions, you like to have a good time. You're a fun person. Has having a good time ever gotten you in trouble with the law or anyone else?
Yeah, I got an MIP when I was underage, obviously.
That's a minor in possession?
Yeah, I got caught really drunk. Yeah, when I was probably 19. I don't think my parents don't even know that.
Well, hopefully they'll listen, because you know what? At this point in life, you can be like, Mom, Dad, it wasn't a big deal. I'm successful.
Yeah, look how I turned out just fine. But otherwise, not really with the law.
When you got your MIP, they just write you a ticket or do you have to go somewhere?
No, it was super easy. They wrote me a ticket and I just had to pay them like $200.
Oh, so it's just like a big night out.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. I was in Park City visiting, which you'd think Utah would be stricter about that stuff. But yeah, it was pretty mellow.
Yeah, really mellow.
But yeah, I haven't gotten in trouble with the law any other times, but I'm sure I've let people down.
Well, that's great to know. And for my final inappropriate question, what is the dumbest thing a sponsor or anyone else has asked you to do as part of your job?
Oh, God, I don't know.
Or like a media appearance or just something stupid where it's, no, I don't want to have to ride this horse and shoot arrows. I'm a skier. You did a topless shoot.
Oh, yeah, that was probably it. I don't even remember when that was. It was definitely before the last Olympics, but someone approached me about doing a female empowerment, like focusing on girl skiers. I don't even know if it was athletes or just skiers, but they wanted to feature me in it. And so obviously I agreed. I was like, yeah, that's sick. I get my name out there. And then, yeah, at the shoot, one thing led to another. And they're like, okay, let's just like take your shirt off and you can wear this vest, but let's get really sassy, which is totally not me. And I'm also really bad at saying no. So obviously I did it. And those photos still live to haunt me.
Wow. So all you have to do is ask, hey, Brita, we're going to do a photo shoot. Can you take your shirt off? Okay, no problem.
I'm sure there was something else in there, but yeah, that wasn't my finest memory.
I will start looking for those photos on the internet, put it in the show notes. And I want to thank you for your time. Your career has been a tragedy of injuries and a ton of success. So it's where most people would look at all those injuries and quit. You always come back, and you always come back stronger than the injury before, which is amazing. Not too many people could do that. So I hope you beat Maddie at the Olympics this year. I don't know Maddie.
Thanks, Mike.
I hope you crush her. And I look to see you on TV smiling and wearing a gold medal.
Yeah, I'll be there having a good time regardless, but thank you so much.
So that was time with Brita Sigourney, and man, she has had so many injuries and is still totally stoked on skiing. This is the biggest week of her life, so I hope everybody tunes in to see if she can put it all together and walk away with an Olympic gold medal. Next week, I have a guest who already has an Olympic gold medal in halfpipe. I'm talking about David Wise, and he happens to be the best halfpipe skier to ever drop in a halfpipe. I'd say that's debatable, but looking at his results and how he skis, I think most would agree with me. He's the favorite to win the gold again this year in South Korea, but that's next week. For now, I ask you to review me on whatever platform you listen to me on, share my social posts, and tell your friends about the podcast. I also need to thank my sponsors. They are Evo, Rescue Water, 10 Barrel Brewery, and the Summit at Snoqualmie. Thanks for listening, everyone, and have a great week.